Welcome to another episode of Hidden Stories Healed Now. We have a phenomenal guest with us today, Miss Chatika Jackson. She is actually going to share her journey of how all of us can go from poverty to success. And what does that mean? I'm really excited. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you inviting me to be a guest.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yeah.
I am so inspired by you. And I know that the audience is going to be even more inspired as they hear your journey.
Yeah.
Would you share a little bit about your journey with the audience?
Sure. I grew up in East Atlanta, and I would be coined the term Grady baby because I was born at the public hospital here in Atlanta, Georgia. But where I grew up and in the community where I lived, it wasn't a lot of opportunity to really kind of advance, and it wasn't a lot of focus on education and advancing. So early on, I kind of took a little detour and I started working at a nightclub, and I did that for a number of years. And there were a couple of people that I ran into who were very impactful in my life and who saw something and said, hey, you can do something different. And I woke up one day and I made a phone call to my mother and I told her, I said, hey, I'm going to move to California. And she said, stop lying. You're not coming to California. I said, no, I'm coming to California. And so I packed up my things in December of 1994, I believe, and I was out in California in 1995. And so, to make a long story short, it gave me an opportunity to get my education, my undergraduate degree there, and also to start my career where, I started working in the corporate space.
So, okay, it's the trials and tribulations along the way. So you grew up in a place where you didn't have it all. But you made a way to start getting a job. So you at least went to work, right? You were getting a check. You knew that you needed money. And then you start working, someone sees something in you, which I think the message here is when being able to be open to others, being able to be open to different ideas, listening to other people is key because by you doing that, someone said, I can do something for you.
Absolutely.
What gave you the courage in the first place when you said, I'm going to pack my bags and I'm moving to California?
Interestingly, I had this conversation with a colleague of mine just yesterday.
Wow.
And I was telling him that I am in a unique space right now where in every part of my life, I've known when to pivot. And he's not a spiritual person. He always says that I preface when I talk about spirituality with this, but it was just dropped in my spirit like, hey, this is what to do now. Whenever I took another turn, it was this is what to do now. So I could always pivot no matter what the circumstance would be. And then I got to a point where, there was the pivot. But for me, even though I'm not religious, I definitely feel that there is a spiritual component that was there in the beginning, really guiding me and moving me in a direction because I've had some amazing experiences. You think of a person who, grew up in East Atlanta, and I've been all over the world now. So it's really phenomenal where the journey has taken me and where I've been able to take my family to in this journey.
Well, it's I think that it's such a blessing to hear, you know, you've been all over the world and you came from this humble beginning, very humble beginning.
Yeah.
But let's take it back a little bit, because when people hear this story, I'm sure there are a number of people that may be watching and saying, okay, but I don't have. I can't pack my bags up. I can't go to California. I don't even know how to get there. I can't drive across the country.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have money to fly.
Yeah.
How do you plan? How did you, it's the how that people are really struggling with. I intellectually know what I need to do. I don't really know where to begin or how.
Good question. And I typically have this conversation with my children because they believe that money is the answer to everything, and it is not. And I normally go to them and I tell them that if you start to really think about use what you have, how far that can get you, because the mind goes to what is it that I don't have. But if you can think of what you do have, it can help you to accelerate the journey. So in my case, I had an aunt who lived in Atlanta, who owned her place, who allowed me to stay with her for 5 months without paying any rent. That gave me the ability to save up some money, so I have some money going to California. I was in my 20s at the time, and I had to go and live with my mother, but that was a choice that I needed to make, to say, okay, I need to humbly take a step back so that I can take a step forward. And so while it may not be comfortable, the choices that you have to make, just knowing that you always have something to work with if you really think about it, you know, calling somebody and asking for help, asking for expertise, you know, reaching out to networks. You'll be amazed at what you have at your disposal if
You
you
know,
leverage it.
I think it's interesting you're talking about mindset, right? And you gave a great example of how we can change our mindset. And I want to key off of that a little bit, because those of you listening, she said, our minds go directly to what I do not have. But if we take away and look at, this is what I do have, what can I do with it? It reminds me of those scavenger hunts where you have to get from point A to point B, and you might have a twig, you might have a match, you might, so I don't have everything that I normally would want or need. This is all I have. How do I get from here to here with what I just have? And I never thought about putting it in that context, but that is so real that, you know, it would allow us the ability to make something out of nothing. So when we do have, it's grander, you know, in terms of moving forward. We're going to take a station break. We'll be right back.
Every story has a hidden element that is not often shared. Hidden Stories, Healed Now, with host Vicki Wright Hamilton, seeks to share the hidden gems in real-life experiences. Our guests are ordinary people sharing their stories of overcoming insurmountable odds while providing hope and inspiration.
Welcome back. So let's take that, Chiquita, let's take this a little bit further. So you get to California. You're staying with your mom, right? Now, did you go and say, when I get to my mother's, I'm going to go get a job at McDonald's. I'm going to go get a job doing so-and-so. What was it that, and even getting in school, how did you pay for school? How did you get into school? I think it's these kinds of things that people struggle with, that we're just looking for some inside answers.
So let me just say this, and I'm a first generation college student for my family. And so a lot of the efforts or achievements that happen, I am the first. So yeah, I got a job at Applebee's, the first job that I got, my first professional job. I did an internship where I wasn't making any money at all. It was just, hey, you show up, you do the work. And interestingly enough, I was treated pretty poorly at the internship where I worked. And I would come home and I would say to my mom, I would complain every day about how I was being treated in this environment. And she told me, she said, good. And I was like, what do you mean good? She said, good, because if you ever had to manage a team, if you ever had to lead people, you would know how to treat them because of how you were treated. So that was one piece of it. In terms of getting into school, it was just, I just say, just do it. You just figure it out. There have been so many things where I did not know or I didn't have access to, but I would just call up and just ask a question. How do I do this? How do I do that? And I would just figure out a way. There's a speaker that I really like, and I can't think of her name right now, but she coined this term called figure outable. And everything is figure outable. If you think about it, you can figure it out some kind of way. And so that's how I kind of approach, life. There's a way to figure it out some kind of way. So.
And so, that's when you talk about mindset and we talk about being able to do it, it's kind of like that positive person versus that negative person.
Mm-hmm.
We all, if you can, there is a positive view out of everything happens, even when it's negative.
Yeah.
Right. We lose somebody, but they're not in pain.
Mm-hmm.
We had an accident, but we had that accident so that we could get the car repaired, because what we didn't know is that something else down the road could have happened.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, even no matter what happens, there is something positive that we have to take away from it, which becomes our learning.
Yeah.
Right. What is that learning that we're taking away from that incident? Mm-hmm. So you get out to California, you get this, you go through school, you go through this internship. How did you get your first job, your first professional job after the internship?
Gosh, it's been so long ago. I think I just actually applied for it, but that job was kind of like the springboard to everything else.
Oh.
Because I started working at Del Taco Corporate at the time, and I was a franchise accounting manager, and my responsibilities were to approve franchisees that came through the system. And I had a group that I was working with that came through, and I had been there for some time, but this group in particular, they were hilarious. They were having a difficult time getting approved. And I told them, I was like, just be okay. I'm going to get you approved. And then I ended up getting them approved. And that particular group poached me from Del Taco. They wanted me to come and work for them. And they had their own franchise business. And the opportunities that allowed me to have were just tremendous, because again, I was talking to this colleague. I told him, I said, if I had to write the job description or apply to the job that I was doing, I would have been intimidated by it. But I was just allowed to do it, so I did it, and I was able to get some very valuable experience from it. But yeah, just for the first job, I just applied just as normal, fresh graduate out of school, and I got it. I guess the economy was pretty good back then, so it wasn't any major hurdles. But let me just say this, because I don't want to leave anybody with this misconception that I have had just a positive mindset. Oh, I can go negative real quick. Just no. But what I did have is a couple of things. My mom is amazing. I have to go on record for saying this, because she has given me so many gems that has really carried me through some very thick water. So the first gem that she gave me was just observing her. My mother loved to read, and she gave me the gift of books. So whenever there was something that was going on in my life, I would go to a book and try to download, how do I, navigate this particular situation? Then she gave me the gem, a saying. She used to say to me, you can pay now or play later, or play now and pay later. And what that said was, you can goof off if you want to right now and not get this education in, not put in the work, not do the things that you need to do, but you're going to pay for it on the backside. Or you can go ahead on, get it out of the way, and then you get to play. And so there are some things that I am afforded to be able to do because, and you'll have people saying, oh, well, how are you doing this? Well, you didn't see me where I was spending 8-10 hours studying and writing papers and putting in all the work. You only see the promotion, you don't see the process. So it's very important to understand that, yes, I've had positive moments and positive input, but I've really had an anchor in my life to really feed into me, to help me along the way. And if you don't have anybody that's like that, search for somebody, in your circle who can give you value and put into you good things.
You said something that's goes along with one of my favorite sayings. Mm-hmm. People see the glory, but they sure don't know the story.
Yes.
You have no idea what story went behind it.
Yeah.
The second thing that you said that's important is that if you don't have someone, mm-hmm. seek someone out. The importance of mentorship, the importance of having someone that you look up to, that you admire, that's mm-hmm. willing to give to you.
Yeah.
Those are gifts. They are powerful gifts.
Yeah.
They're gifts that you can't put a dollar sign on, as you indicate mm-hmm. what it has done for you throughout your career.
Yeah.
In terms of where you started to where you are today.
Absolutely.
We're going to take a station break, and when we come back, we're going to see if there's a question or comment from the audience. We'll be right back.
Every story has a hidden element that is not often shared. Hidden Stories, Healed Now, with host Vicki Wright Hamilton, seeks to share the hidden gems in real-life experiences. Our guests are ordinary people sharing their stories of overcoming insurmountable odds while providing hope and inspiration.
Welcome back. We were talking about, all jokes aside, that people see and observe and think everything is okay. They see you drive a nice car, but they don't know that you're paying through the wazoo for, caregiving mm-hmm. that you're having to take care of. They look at a big house and they think, oh, they're wealthy, they have all of this. Perceptions is all visual, right? And those visual things can put in our minds, what we think is supposed to be based upon what we've seen.
Yeah.
And, I think we talked about mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
So did you have anyone outside of your mother that was a mentor to you through this process? Or I know you talked about the group that you helped. Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing I want to say. Always help somebody else. You never know when it comes back.
Absolutely.
You never know when it comes back to you. As an entrepreneur, I will tell you, 90% of my opportunities are coming from people I previously helped, mentored, or coached throughout my career. So we got to always remember to be able to do that.
But that's I think one of the most phenomenal things that I get to experience right now is, people that I've worked with through LinkedIn, they will just send me a note to say, hey, I really appreciate you from 5 years ago, how you advocated for me, how you did this. And I would have forgotten all about that and just be like, wow. But yeah, of course, I've had mentors along the way, people who gave me opportunities and took chances on me. Like I was telling you about the franchise opportunity. I went in as a corporate manager into this organization, and this person allowed me to run their business. I mean, I was pretty young at the time, and I was meeting with bankers and I was pulling deals together, and it was just amazing. And again, it was like if I had to read a job description and apply to the job, I would be too intimidated to do it. But given the opportunity, I just did it, and I think that's really important for, audience members out there who have opportunities, that they can take chances on people if it's, you know, well deserved. I mean, take a chance on somebody and see how it works out. You'll be surprised at what value you can bring to their lives.
And I think the other message that you gave is when you're looking for a job, don't just look at that job description, because the job description, you get and saying, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this. You can do this, and I have comparable skill sets to do that. Yeah. And those are the things we have to remember. Yeah. So we don't think about, oh, no, I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't take the risk. Yeah. That's very good advice. Yeah. Let's see if we have a question from the audience.
Hi, how are you? Good. I'm hearing your journey. It sounds great. It actually sounds almost perfect. It sounds like it was a smooth transition. Is there anything throughout that journey that you would say that you would have that might have been a struggle, or that you would have done differently throughout the process that you felt like could have been a challenge?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I will tell you that my story isn't perfect. It is definitely not perfect at all. It was a lot of failure through the course of my career. And I continue to make mistakes and, try to figure it out. But one in particular that really comes to mind is a relationship that I had at the last company. And I think the question is, would I have done it differently? I have massaged this idea in my mind a lot, because it was a relationship with a person. How can I say this? Sometimes you have to own your shit. I'm sorry if I can't say that. Own your shit. And I think that I had a lot of ego, a lot of ambition, and there were some opportunities that I could have taken to listen and to just hear what the other person was saying. And it's funny how the ego tricks you. And I know everybody's looking at my clothing, and this is a professional conversation we're having here today. But I literally go to work like this. I have 5 sets of clothes that I wear like this, because there is a stripping that I'm trying to do of myself and my ego, where I can create the space to connect with other people at a human level. And sometimes when you're so ambitious and you want to get things the way that you want to get them, you sometimes can knock over people and knock over relationships. And so what I would do differently is tend more to the connection and more to the relationships. And I think that's what I've been learning through this last 3 years at this organization I'm with, is how to build good relationships and really care about people. So
thank you for that. And I'll tell you, that's very powerful. It's powerful that you said, I am stripping myself. Yeah. I'm going through something.
Yes.
And that's why I'm doing it. I want to peel back something. That's why I'm doing it. Yeah. This is empowering me to move forward. I think that's profound, because people can make judgments. Yeah. Oh, about this or that. No, I want you to see me. I don't want you to see my clothes.
Yeah.
I don't want you to see my makeup. I don't
Yeah.
want you to see what I have on. I want you to relate to me.
Yeah.
And I want you to know that I'm here for you.
Yeah.
That
Absolutely.
is extremely powerful. And I commend you for the desire to show up that way and be able to say, it's because I want to be me. I want you to see me and not what I'm dressed as or not what I have on.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I think about, you know, when we're working, if we all, you know, they always tell you dress the part of what you want to be, you know, come in as to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to look the part, you're trying to do the part to be there. And sometimes you're doing that and it just doesn't work.
For the wrong reason.
And for the wrong reasons.
And
right.
I have to tell people that I work with, and this is sometimes, you know, very senior people, clothing doesn't equal competency.
Yes.
It doesn't. And so I can walk into my workplace with an $800 pair of shoes on, you know, whatever, however much it costs for a suit, and just be totally ignorant to the job. I see it every day. But what I tend to focus on is my craft and building relationships with people. That's what I got time for right now. That's all I got time for.
And that is the key. Getting your relationships and making it happen. That is the key. Can you join me in thanking my guest today? Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Hidden Stories Healed Now, where we tell those secrets and give those hidden gems to set us free. See you next time.